We are about to kick it off, and we're going to start it with a poem from Makayla Bell, who is a student at University of San Francisco. Makayla, are you ready? Give it up for Makayla. Encourage her.
You guys hear me? Okay. So before I start the poem, I want to say that I took a lot of inspiration from Frederick Douglass, What is a Slave to the 4th of July, as well as Still I Rise by Maya Angelou. So if you hear those referenced, yeah. One had chosen to take the stand and unmask the true hate for one race. Now it seems that all the white people want to taste. I didn't mean to kill that black man. It was an honest mistake. But that's not exactly what your subconscious would say. It says, nonetheless, that life is not valuable enough for me to accept the time that I may be facing. See, you're born into your fancy paychecks and your American dream, while we're born into a cycle of debt and left out of everything. So let me ask you, since when did the color of a man's skin become a warrant to strip his dignity from him? I said, since when did the color of a man's skin become a warrant to strip his dignity from him? And how is it that a pure soul doesn't stand out as divine in a world only capable of sin? Tell me, how is it that the texture of a woman's hair automatically earns her a lower income than Miss Claire? See, I'd love to sit and have this talk, but it seems that nobody's prepared. They don't want to talk about what is or what isn't fair, with no doubt that the racism is obviously there. They rather act oblivious, completely unaware. Because a human being's skin color makes the police all the more scared. So we're wiped off this earth like our life has a price tag. But no, they're willing to steal, because they know they'll get a slap on the wrist so soft, it's nothing they can feel. Anyways, I'd like to point us in a new direction. But what's a new direction worth when the protection of black lives still remains undetected, neglected, unaccepted? It's nothing short of unacceptable. And then it makes you wonder what kind of country you're really fighting for. We are the grandchildren of the slaves you failed to kill. Despite their tedious attempts to bring us down, we continue to build. Their minds soaked in confusion and their hearts becoming ill, I, as well as my people, have been given our fill, our taste of tyranny, and refuse to become martyrs. We are the grandchildren of the slaves you failed to break. They tested us to see how much we'd sit and take. And with continuance to rise despite the challenges we face, they started to despise despite their acts of hate. And it sounds quite, well, hypocritical. We are the grandchildren of the slaves you tried to deprive of belief. Yes, you tried. You gave us a story, and we not only revised, but erased it all and began to rewrite. We began to become self-sufficient. And in your efforts to create distance, such as a wealth gap, we will ensure that we get our rightful pay as well as recognition. We are the grandchildren of the slaves that you tried. Yes, you tried. And even so, uncovering your disguise, seeing flaw in your design, and being at a disadvantage because our skin is not white, still we rise.
Give it up for Makayla. Yay. I was telling some people, I said, well, I've never heard her do her poem before. I hope I'm not embarrassed. She did a good job. Congratulations. The next person I'm going to bring up, I'm like super excited. She's going to really help set the tone for today. And I think that Makayla also already did that, just bringing into the room wealth disparities and the challenges and some of the things that we have inherited and this constant fight. But that today is not just about like enjoying the view and, you know, having coffee and lunch and all these other things. It's really a call to action. And I'm excited to have you all here, but I'm super excited for the energy and the passion and the love that Michele brings to this work in this transformation of people and spaces and places. You can read her bio in the program, but I want you to really hear and feel her heart as she kind of calls us to action today. So Michele, gee.
Thanks. I'm tall enough, I don't need to stand on the stage, right? Makayla. So I just want to say this really quickly. So I'm Michele G. Yes, I hope you guys are all A students. You can Google me. There's enough there, not the juicy stuff that's coming when I write my tell-all. But I want to say that Makayla did a great job because she did, first of all, she asked, could she stand on the stage? And 80% of us don't even ask for the opportunity. We're going to talk about that today. The second thing she did is she prepared and practiced. I saw her back here. The third thing she did is she delivered. Now, the fourth thing she has to do is continue to follow up, meet people in this room to make sure that she opens up doors. Because oftentimes we come in rooms like this and we sit next to people and we he, and we fill with the Holy Spirit, and then we leave and we're the same exact person. So let's not do this. So let's talk about why we're here today. We're here today because we can literally see people are rolling back the clock on affirmative action. They're trying to remove our history from school books and told me that my ancestors were slaves and it was good for them because there were some skill sets that came out of that. You got to roll with the punches that came out of that. They're trying to sue law firms for giving fellows of color an opportunity. They're trying to shut down the Fearless Fund for saying, I want to give people that aren't parity some money so that they can be in parity. I mean, there's a lot at stake. And so when I stand here and say that I'm so passionate about this because I'm a little girl who was born in Oakland, California. Come on, people. I'm not going to say how long ago. Lived on 106th and Bancroft. Went to Bishop O'Dowd High School. Didn't study very much. Oh, my God, that's a whole other story. And didn't graduate till I was 31. I was a CEO of Ebony and Jet. I worked for some of the biggest media companies in the world. I authored 3 books. My daughter is at Harvard University right now because I worked my butt off because I didn't allow the world to tell me I wasn't good enough. And this hasn't even made the press yet. And 5 days ago, I walked away from corporate America. It was a good paycheck because I believe in entrepreneurship. I believe that I'm worth more than they wanted to give me. And so as we sit in this room today, understand we can do anything and that we're more than just a consumer, that we're more than just spending our money. We're worthy of funding. We're worthy of opportunities. We're worthy of everything that God created us to be. So I got to do this. Then I'm going to get a mic up. And I don't care who you believe in, but can I just bless the room real quick? Do y'all mind if I do that? Whoever you believe in, just have a moment of silence. I just want to go to God really quickly. Heavenly Father, I just want you to bless this room. I want you to open up minds. I want you to allow people to meet new people. I want you to plant in people the opportunity that you created them for. I want you to continue to bless Sister Cheryl and the organization and the people. I want there to be seeds planted. I want those seeds to grow. There'll be no weapon formed against anyone in this room on today. In Jesus' name, amen. I just wanted to do that really quickly. Use today as an opportunity to understand what your strategy is, how you're building your business, how you can help those people in the room. And then when you leave today, have a plan of action. So as you're taking notes, what are your to-dos? Who are you going to follow up with? How are you going to create change? How are you going to grow something? Because if you don't do that, you wasted your time today. And we're not here to do that, right? So let's all raise our hand and take a quick pledge. I'm going to be different when I leave the room. Y'all don't mean that. I'm going to be different when I leave this room today. All right, well, let's go then.
All right. So in the name of, I'm not as tall as Michele, but I'm not going back up the stairs. In the name of being different, really wanted today when the opportunity to engage Mike Ford came to me, it spoke in so many different ways. And I don't know if anyone from planning department or other folks were able to make it today, but it just spoke to me the work that he is doing to reframe and rethink about architecture. You know, so often when I heard the word architecture, I thought of like Frank Lloyd Wright, who folks may be familiar with, and the whole like the way that the buildings were built and how amazing they were and the structure of them, but it seemed pretty, you know, it seemed pretty vanilla, right, in some ways when we think about it. Like it's beautiful, but it follows a format and a structure that's pretty plain in some way. Simple is not bad, that's not what I'm saying. But when I saw the work that Mike was doing to think about architecture and to include the notion of hip hop and being very intentional about like urbanizing the idea and the framing of architecture, I was super excited. So much so I know Diane Gray and James Spingola and a bunch of other people got emails from me saying, like, we need to bring this to San Francisco. And when the opportunity came to not just bring the camp to San Francisco, but to bring the person behind the camp to San Francisco, the request was made and he accepted it. And so I want to just bring to the space to talk to us a little bit this morning, Michael Ford, the hip hop architect.
Hey, good morning, everybody. All right. Well, thanks to everybody who played a part in getting me to come here today. And just so I know who I'm speaking to, is it anybody that's here in the planning department or that's involved with design at all? Nobody. That's good. So I can talk bad about, I'm going to talk bad about architecture and urban planning and all of that. And I'm doing a quick time check too. Are we 15? Oh, okay. All right, I'm going to talk 15:30. That's a range. All right. Give me the wrap it up sign. All right, so 2%. You know, less than 2% of architects in the United States are black. What does that mean? You know, so there's less than 500 women, black women, who have ever been a licensed architect. I think the number today might be around 460. When you're around black women who are architects, they all know their number and they share their number. I was number 400, 401. Black men, we're not that much more. It's about 1,500 black men. So oftentimes when people are saying you should do something besides dribble a basketball, maybe study architecture, I'm like, no, you actually have a higher chance to make it into the NBA than become a licensed black architect, which is crazy. So I've spent, you know, the better part of the last 2 decades working to make architecture not only more accessible, but more relevant. And I'm gonna show you a little bit of that today. And I'm gonna start off with a very short story. Back in 2020, I was working at a very large firm, like one of the largest firms in the world, and decided to step away. It's out there, you can read the articles. I don't like to bash the firm too much, but I was challenging them on their portfolio, types of projects they were working on, especially considering the times we were going through. I don't believe that any architect should work on prisons or jails. It goes directly against everything that we learn as architecture students and as we get our license. We learn that we are here for the health, safety, and welfare of people who inhabit our spaces. And all of that is thrown out of the door when we're designing those types of spaces. So I walked away after learning that we had some of that work in our portfolio and said that, you know, I'm going to go back to my own practice, build it up, and work on projects that enhance the quality of life. So I'm going to show you a few of those projects. I'm just going to focus on one that's very fun, and then I want to show you the hip-hop architecture camp, so how I use my professional practice and the projects I work on to inspire more kids to become architects. All right, so this year is the 50th anniversary of hip-hop. So very big moment, something that people thought was going to be a fad that's going to go away. My firm, which is called Brand New Design Studio, founded the firm, again, after walking away from another one. And our firm is leading the design of the Hip Hop Museum in the Bronx. So, yeah, shout out to hip hop. So the Hip Hop Museum, I was born and raised in Detroit. After living there, going to school there, I moved to Madison, Wisconsin. I thought my life in hip hop was over. And to my surprise, University of Wisconsin, Madison had one of the largest hip hop programs in the country. And so students come in full scholarship to study one of the elements of hip hop. The program was called First Wave. And to my surprise, Curtis Blow was a keynote speaker at one of their sessions. And a professor heard that there was this guy named Mike Ford, the hip hop architect. He's like, I gotta connect y'all two. Luckily, I checked my emails that night. I went and I met Curtis Blow, and that's when he unveiled this idea to build a hip hop museum. He said he's thinking about his contribution beyond music. What legacy does he leave behind? And if I call myself the hip hop architect, this should be the perfect project. So I met Curtis Blow. He said, hey, I'm gonna invite a lot of artists out, and I want you to come in, work with us, and create a concept for the hip hop museum. I said, well, that's impossible. I don't want to be the sole person to make an image which represents hip hop. So what I did is I called some of those 2% folks. Our small group, we're part of an organization called the National Organization of Minority Architects. So I called in a few of my friends. This is us. We all came in, sat down with artists, and created some of the first images to represent the Hip Hop Museum. So this was in the Bronx, in an abandoned building, the Bronx County Courthouse that was going to become the Hip Hop Museum. So articles started to come out. I got students involved to advance some of the ideas that we were talking about. We brought in Netflix, and if you ever seen The Get Down, Netflix did a special premiere of The Get Down inside of the old Bronx County Courthouse. This building was to become the Hip Hop Museum. So you had A$AP Rocky and Jaden Smith, all of the people who played in the movie, that series, come out and celebrate this as the place of hip hop. Unfortunately, we gave this developer so much free press that his building was empty, right? It's every magazine is writing about it. It's on TV. Basically, we're broadcasting that his building is empty. And someone came in with a check, said, hey, we can take this now. The museum had a few days to match it. And of course, we hadn't done that much besides this kickoff session. And they didn't want to commit to a building that we haven't really investigated that much. So at that point, we learned really quick. Real G's got to move in silence, like lasagna, the philosopher, Mr. Lil Wayne. But yeah, a lot of investment here. But that stopped, and we found another site I'm going to tell you all about. This was the groundbreaking for the project. So the project includes a lot of artists, not just people from the Bronx who are from around the world. It's not just rappers. It's every element of hip hop. So DJs, MCs, breakdancers. This was our groundbreaking. Nas, LL Cool J, Fat Joe, the young man with the gray beard, Mr. Paradise Gray. He's on a TV show right now on A&E called Hip Hop Treasures, where they are going around finding elements for the Hip Hop Museum. But this was our groundbreaking. This is the museum. A lot of the artists, which I talk about a lot when I give lectures, a number of the artists who started or pioneered hip hop all grew up in low income or affordable housing. So it was important for us to find an opportunity to develop a museum, but also look at not gentrifying that neighborhood. So the museum has 525 affordable housing units above the museum. The museum is the bottom 2 floors. It's about 50,000 square feet. It's right off the Harlem River. Here's some shots on August 11th. This is when we did a VIP kind of tour of the construction site. So this was the morning of the 50th anniversary of hip hop. One of the other tough questions they asked me to do, I said, Mike, we need a cornerstone for the Hip Hop Museum. We need something, usually you see a date chiseled within the building. It's like, we need something that's a cornerstone. I said, well, it should be a lyric. And then they asked me, go ahead and put the lyric on there. I'm like, nope. And not setting me up with that. Let's have a session or a number of sessions where we talk to people around the country about how can we put a lyric there that everybody agrees with. It is related to architecture, related to design, related to the evolution of hip hop. And what we decided was it was Biggie Smalls. It was all a dream. And you never thought hip hop would take it this far. So on his birthday this year, see the young lady standing in front of me with the pink dress, the young man with the Yankees hat, CJ, those are his 2 children. So we threw a birthday party for him and presented them with the renderings that their dad's lyrics will be immortalized on the Hip Hop Museum. We also had, Lil C's, that's him standing next to me, that was Big's right-hand man. Rocky Bucanos, the guy that's like 8 feet tall. He's the director for the Universal Hip Hop Museum. Ralph McDaniels, he started Video Music Box, or like what really put music videos on air. And then here's the render we presented. This is me at the construction site when the lyrics were installed. And then we had another tough task. As construction is going on the interior, we wanted to put images up on the windows to block the construction. And like clockwork, Mike, let's put 8 images. No, I'm not picking the 8 images. Get a committee together, let them pick the 8 images. But we put 8 images that represented, a wide swath of hip hop culture. Placed those images. We unveiled them to everybody on August 11th, and then we had the artists come out. So Public Enemy came out. They took images. It was very funny when I'm talking to young folks about hip hop, and I mentioned Flavor Flav. They're like, "Oh, the reality star." I'm like, "No, this was one of the most politically conscious rappers that you have ever heard of." Yes, Chuck D, Flavor Flav. So we had the artists come out and be a part of the unveiling of the museum. Another image here, and then I'll show you a quick fly through of the project. Let's see if this works with the clicker. It does. So this is a drone shot. I don't know, whoever flew this drone has some skills because they're going to go through the door and into the building. So the museum originally was going to be open in September of 2023, this year. The pandemic pushed us back about 18 months. So we're going to open in the first quarter of 2025. But you can see it is well on its way. So if you're ever in the Bronx, definitely check it out. You can see the construction going on. And right across the street, we have a pop-up museum where you can see a glimpse of what will be inside. These are some of the images on the interior. So our exhibit designer, Ralph Applebaum Associates. And some of the things, I won't go through all of the ideas, 'cause I want to speed through and show you all the camp. But one of the things that happened is our lead facilitator, our lead exhibit designer for the Hip Hop Museum, he lost his vision, Paradise Gray, the guy with the beard. He lost his vision during this project. So he started asking us, how do people who don't have sight experience graffiti? Right? How do you liberate graffiti from this 2-dimensional plane? You always seen like these drop shadows and bevels and things that graffiti artists did that make it look 3D. Can we make hip hop more accessible? So you start to see that in some of the images where people can now come and touch the graffiti as opposed to it being flat on this 2D surface. People that can't do graffiti, teaming with technology partners, where you can write something on your phone or tablet and a robot will recreate it in your favorite writer style. People who don't like hip hop at all, we actually did a tour around the country to investigate what would make you come to a museum if you're not a hip hop fan. And one of the things we learned was learning the connections between hip hop and other genres. So creating spaces where you can see how hip hop has sampled, or now how people are sampling hip-hop. And a few more exhibit images. So that's the Hip Hop Museum. Again, we're going to open in April of 2025, but definitely stay aware of that project. It's not a project about the Bronx. It's a project about hip hop and its global impact. And you can follow them on Instagram and keep up with the development. All of my professional projects, I've taken and created this program called the Hip Hop Architecture Camp. And it started off, and I'm looking at y'all too, so give me that. It started off with this TEDx. I had to give it a fancy name so that people at TED would like call me back. I was like trying to make it confusing as possible. So I called it Hip Hop as Hip Hop as a post-occupancy evaluation of modernism. I wanted them to say, what the heck? And they did. But basically what it's saying is that when you take the time to listen to rap, you'll see that they're critiquing the built environment. And we know that only 2% of architects are black. So not talking about what we've done. We're talking about what architects and urban planners who don't look like us have done in our communities. And beyond the architecture, it's also the policies and procedures that are wrapped or housed within those structures. So that's what a TEDx is about. I go through some of your favorite songs and show how they are related to the built environment. Distilled that talk in my professional projects down to a hip hop architecture camp. So we use hip hop as a way to introduce young people to architecture. It's totally free. We run it in about 35 cities across the country. We run it in Kenya, have a program throughout Canada, so Toronto and Vancouver. Our kids have been on the Oprah Winfrey Network, the Today Show. They've gotten a lot of exposure because of this unique way they look at architecture. And it's based on this idea that we say music is liquid architecture and architecture is frozen music. So this is an old quote, but if architecture is frozen music, how can we freeze the most popular music genre of all time? So what we do is we have kids read lyrics. Like usually when you come into the camp, you expect it to be loud. It's very quiet. Kids are reading the words. Like they're seeing how they're talking about the neighborhoods, how they're talking about communities. But then we've taught them a way to break down the lyrics with math. So they break down bar for bar what the artists are talking about. And then they rebuild it with these Legos. So you see the young lady, she's looking at the complexity that's within hip hop. Like most people might look at rap as this deviant behavior, right? All the kids over there rapping. It's like, no, they are genius. They're doing math that's so complex, like you don't even recognize it as math. So we've broken down a way to extract that math, and now each Lego piece is related to the double entendres, triple entendres, like all the creativity that's wrapped up in hip hop. And we bring rappers in. We've built their models. The moment a rapper comes in, we give it to them. Most rappers are like, oh, this is cute. A kid made a model. Like, no, that's your song. And then as they sing the song and point to each piece, the rappers grasp this idea. These are some of the images that the young folks make, which again is extracting the structures and patterns from rap. They start to build models of cities or their first ideas of cities. So again, as a planner might come in, it's like, hey, you made a nice city. Like, nah, that's Lauryn Hill lyrics. Then we teach our young people how to rap. So they have to make a rap about a project idea. We teach them that you have to be a little bit more complex with your rap. You can't have rhymey words at the end. You need to have inline rhymes. You need to use those double entendres. You need to really construct this verse, just like we do as architects. Like every detail, nothing is missed. I'm gonna skip her. She was like fire, but just trust me. And then we have them design our projects, our young people. This their first time ever making something in 3D, but it's theirs. They made it. They made a song about it. And then we give them an internship with an architecture firm where they take their idea and make it to something more realistic in their neighborhoods or communities. Red, black, green, you got it. And then last but not least, sometimes it's fictitious projects like the one you saw, but we also have our young people look at real things that's going on in our neighborhoods and communities. This is was a historic neighborhood in Detroit called Paradise Valley, also known as Black Bottom. So this is where a lot of folks when they move from the south to the north, working for the auto industry, this is the neighborhood they moved to. First hospitals, pharmacies, churches that were built by black folks in Detroit was built in Paradise Valley or Black Bottom. So this is that neighborhood before, this is the neighborhood after. All right, so as the Highway Construction Act was passed, Detroit wasn't the only city. Almost every major city across the country, the easiest way to get from the suburban districts to the central business district was right through established black neighborhoods. So the Michigan Department of Transportation and City of Detroit wants to right this wrong. They want to cap the expressway and make it back into a major boulevard. So they brought us in to run a hip-hop architecture camp where we use Detroit music. We brought in children and grandchildren of some of the business owners, and we use music to recreate what this street could be and to engage the city of Detroit about this idea. And I'm going to end by letting y'all listen to some of these kids rap. So we make these music videos. We get a bus. We travel around the city. People don't know who they're looking at. They don't know if it's like a young celebrity because we got lights and cameras. I'm like, no, it's just kids studying architecture. They're like, what? So they make up their own song. We drove this lady crazy on the bus because we was filming on the bus. But I'll let y'all listen to part of it. Yeah, here we go. And they wanted to go to the freeway too. They wanted to stand over the freeway. And the second girl, she was the best rapper ever at a camp. But it was some more in there. But I'll end by saying we talked to them about creative storytelling and lyrics. So you heard her say, in the future, I'm going to be rich off the bread. Her project that she created was a bakery that she would put in that neighborhood. So when she did her rap battle, she had to rap about being rich off the bread. But thank you all. Looking forward to connecting.
Give it up for Michael Ford. Now you all see why I was like, you need to bring that to San Francisco because we got neighborhoods that we definitely need to be doing that project in.